Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss about the side effects of LSD and PCP. LSD stands for D-lysergic acid diethylamine and PCP stands for phencyclidine, and both drugs are actually, the name indicates they are chemicals that having a lot of side effects. We already discussed that the effect of LSD is like geometric hallucinations. It means the appearance of round, square, rectangular, different shapes will be distorted in nature. They look like very geometric in shape, false perceptions, intensified colors, as we see in the previous lecture, panic attack and anxiety. Obviously, when a person is experiencing LSD or a person is going to a trip on LSD, and what happened that suddenly his heartbeat will increase. With the increase of the heartbeat, patient thought that his body is moving and going deep into somewhere, and obviously the changes that has been happen make him panic. So this is obvious because of these effects that happen by taking LSD trip that leads to panic attack and anxiety. The next thing is about the false belief and about the creativity. As I already discussed, that it has no link to the creativity. So I bring some of the research articles to prove this thing or prove this fact, which is very important. The first article that I'm going to share you is about the creativity and psychoactive substance, and it is a systemic review that evaluate different articles related to psychoactive drugs and their creativity. And they are talking in detail. They studied a total of 19 studies were identified and met the inclusion criteria. And after evaluation of these 19 studies, they found that uh, it is concluded that specific skills may subject to change as a consequence of substance use, and consequently may have an impact on style of creation. So that is to create a clear evidence that it don't bring the creativity, it may change the perception or style of creation. So if a person is a creative or artist, he know what is creativity. He know he can sound, his sound is good. He know that, or she know he can, or she can draw the sketch or any other skill that a person having. So obviously, if a person is creative, either by learn from, maybe from any studies from undergraduate level, such as graphics designers, or for example, somebody has inbuilt these qualities, then obviously with the use of drug he can change the perception of that picture if he draw, or the sound if he want to achieve certain notes, that could be possible. But again, if a person he is not creative, he don't know how to sing or how to draw the sketch, and the person taking this drug have no effect. And they mention here that, I'm going to read the conclusion. The article you can read in detail. This is very interesting article, and they only talking about that they have not lot of nothing to have some creativity. And they mention that it is hard to draw a clear conclusion about the effect of psychoactive substance on creativity based upon review material. So it means even after investigation of the 19 studies, which contain 14 empirical studies and 5 case studies, it is difficult to consider then that whether it could lead to creativity or not. So this is a big article because this is a systematic review of already published 19 studies. To explain further on, I have another article to prove that evidence that creativity has no link with that, and this is article, and this is a review of the qualitative literature on creativity. And you can read this article. I'm going to explain only this certain point that I want to focus on. And they mention at the end that ultimately creativity may not be a sufficient creation construct to capture the beneficial effect of psychedelic acid. So they are also talking about the same thing, that these drugs have no effect on the creativity. As I already mentioned you, it's common sense that if a person is don't know how to sing a song, and he don't know how to develop the sketch, or if for example making the animations or cartoon, you can learn from the literature, you can learn from it, but You cannot be perfect in build by build. But some problem is there that if, for example, some people learn these sketching and drawing and sketching from the university. Unfortunately, these drugs sometimes are common in certain sector of elements. Although these are the banned drugs, but they are still using. If somebody know the skills to draw, and then they take these drugs, what will be the consequence? Because everybody want to improve their skills or enhancing their skills. So whether these drugs can be helpful if a person is already creative and want to enhance their skills, my answer is that obviously there will be change of perception by taking this drug. But the problem is that if someone take once, he may go to take second time, he or she can go for third time, then he or she can go for fourth or fifth time. And if a person has to be creative, he has to be creative not once or not twice, not thrice, he has to be all the time. The task that has been given can be given anytime, then what will be the consequence? So the my answer is that if somebody is creative and still taking more for improving their skills is not an appropriate way, because a person need to be naturally creative, learn by the art, inspire from the other work, read or see the other people work, and then improve their qualities rather than to inspire from the drug that portrays some pictures or image in the form of different dark and bright colors or geometric figures that appear in your mind, and then you draw it, or then you maybe use them in your music or in any of the creations that you want to do. So that's not the answer, that's not the solution, that my perspective that I identify. So please, you have to be very careful on that perspective. So these are also articles talking about the same thing. When I see the negative effects of these psychoactive drugs, this article, the third article, I'm going to explain another, because there are so many articles on this topic that if I read online, it cannot be unfinishable. There are so many. So this is the article very important about especially the substance use disorders and sexual behavior, and they are talking about the effect of alcohol and drug on patient on their sexual thoughts and feeling and behavior. So obviously substance use is among them if we consider LSD, because it is also used. So they are talking about not only the substance use disorder, but they are talking about the use of the alcohol. So what had they did actually, they did a check on total of 180 patients with substance use disorders, and I'm going to highlight this one. And they mentioning like GHB is also a psychoactive drug. So you can see that among the drugs like alcohol, amphetamine, which is not psychoactive, but GHB among one of them, that is psychoactive drug. And then they found, and when we read the conclusion, we found that there is a relationship between substance use and the sexual behavior in treatment program. And this is very important. And they're talking about the fact that if somebody use the substance for their own pleasures or their own activities, and then after getting the pleasure or that satisfaction, these patients or these substance users will unable to avoid them because they need more again. So they will get dependent on these drugs. So that is why these are one of the reasons that resist them not to take them again, and they promote to take more for increasing their pleasure. So that is very important, that if somebody is just want to try one time just for the experience, it is for sure that this is a trap. It's just like a rat trap. I can give you one example, that in the trap we put the cheese for the mouse come to that trap, and then what happen, we pick him. So the cheese is the example of that trap. And if, for example, if somebody just fall in that trap by taking the drugs and then doing illegal or unethical activities, then what will be happen, then his body need again maybe, and then if he continue to go in that deep hole, and then there will be nothing will be left. And there are a lot of stories, lot of people die because of these trip drugs or substance use drugs. We will discuss in our next lecture. This is have a separate topic, so please, we have to be very careful. So these all articles is expressing the same thing, that the effects are not good. When we discuss about the effect of the phencyclidine, the effects are same, like image distortion, mood disorders, anxiety and violent behavior, blood pressure will be dropped, there will be increase of the pulse rate and respiration. I already mentioned that somebody if undergoing to this trip, his heartbeat will climb. And if you see my previous videos, I already share you one video, then your heartbeat rises, and then you get to anxiety and stress, or sometimes anxiety, severe anxiety, because you don't know what going to his body. And his body, he always said, okay, I'm all is well, I'm well, because obviously the drug have the effect for 4 hours or more than that, if it depend upon the dose. So obviously it is not good for the health. And then blurred vision, as we discussed in the previous lecture, that image distortion could be possible. So these are all side effects. So I always see that please do not be curious about these drugs, because these are not good anywhere in any part of the world. Try to adopt the healthy activities, improve your lifestyle, do physical exercise. If you are an artist, or you want to draw, sketch, or you want to sing, learn from people, learn from the experience, gain the knowledge, improve slow and steady, rather than to take this drug and then improve yourself, as it have no impact on the creativity. If you are not a good singer, you cannot sing well. If you are not a good an artist, you cannot become a good artist unless and until you spend your years to improve yourself. That is very important. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Hope to see you again.